my name's Becky, welcome to my channel. I'm an artist, a designer and a plant lover from Auckland, New Zealand. Today we'll be looking at the plant called Hoya compacta, but also known as Hindu rope. Today's video will be broken down into 4 categories: light, water, soil and taking cuttings. So let's get into it. First category, light. Hindu rope can live in medium light or very high light. What it prefers is bright indirect sunlight. Your Hoya compacta's leaves can burn. They can burn in the sun. So if you're noticing that happening, move your plant away from the sun a little bit, maybe even 30 centimeters or so, and see how it does after that. You don't want your plant to get sunburnt because the leaves don't look very nice and it starts to damage your plant. Also, where you have it in your house, whether it's getting bright light or medium to low light, is going to affect your watering. So let's look at water next.
I need a glass of water after this.
If you have your plant in medium light, it's going to want dramatically less water than if you have it in bright light. So, the more sun your plant gets, the more water it wants. This is a great tip if you're going away on holiday as well, to bring all your plants away from the windows, and then they will want a lot less water and you can go away without watering your plants. Water them before you go and they'll be... You wanna say hi? So Hoya compacta isn't fussy about whether it wants filtered water or just regular tap water. I usually put a little bit of seaweed fertilizer. It's fairly unfussy, but during the growing season I dilute half strength fertilizer and I put it into the water that I am using to water my Hoyas so that it's getting the nutrients it needs during the growing season. During the winter, I do not do that. Also, side note, one cool thing about putting fertilizer in your water is that it makes your terracotta pots look all rustic. That's from fertilizer. How do you tell if your Hoya compacta needs water? What I do is I look at the oldest leaves, so the leaves closest to the base of the plant, and I wait until they get a little bit soft, just a touch soft. Can you hear that? Someone's getting chased down by the police. What was I saying? Well, what I do is I go to the oldest leaves in the plant, the leaves that are closest to the base, and I gently squeeze them. And if they're really firm, then they do not need water. They're totally happy, let it do its thing. But if they're just the slightest bit soft, it's probably time to water again. Now, let's talk about soil. The potting medium you put your Hoyas into is a very personal thing, I find. Everyone likes something different, and that's totally fine. Also realize that what works for me in New Zealand might not work for you, wherever you are in the world. I know some people grow their Hoya in hydrotone. I know some people who grow their Hoya in just plain potting mix. My favorite mix is 1/3 cactus soil, 1/3 orchid bark, and 1/3 pumice. I don't put any fertilizer, slow release fertilizer in my plant pot because I personally like to fertilize with my water. Alright, the final section, the one we've all been waiting for, how to take Hoya cuttings. This is my favorite section. I love to propagate Hoya and I'm really good at it. I've got 3 tricks to doing this really well and my Hoyas root within weeks. My first tip is to water your Hoya the day before you take your cutting. So obviously don't water your Hoya if it doesn't want water. You have to wait until it's thirsty. Tip number 2 is high humidity. They love humidity, Hoyas. So I put mine in a storage box, just like one of those plastic storage boxes you get from the warehouse or anywhere, and keep that humidity high. but not too high. I keep it around 60-70%. And to test my humidity, I have one of those little humidity clocks that you can get from AliExpress or Bunnings or hardware store, wherever. And that just tells me the humidity of the box. I take my cutting with sterilized scissors, and then I pop that cutting into a pot of soil, the same soil that I mentioned earlier. Some people put it into sphagnum moss, I prefer into soil. And then I wait a day, I water it the next day, just a trickle.
Just a little bit, just a little bit, just a trickle. Down that stem, just a tiny little bit.
And then I wait. Now, tip number 3 is time. You have to wait. And that's the hardest part.
Have you got any roots yet, little Hoya? No, I do not. I've got far too much give. You can just pull me straight out. See, no roots.
I took this cutting yesterday, so obviously it's not going to have any roots yet. But now that it's calloused off, it's time for me to water the pot. So when are your cuttings ready to see the world? Well, I usually wait for a few months until they've got new growth growing. There's a healthy root system, and I can tell by tugging them that they won't come out of their pots very easily. That's when I decide to take them out of their pot and have a look at that root system. If they've got a happy, healthy root system, then they're good to go out into the world. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. And check out the link below to find these awesome earrings. Bye. Some people love it, some people hate it. Does it look like whipped cream or does it look like intestines? You decide.